Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Today is Monday, August the 16th. Today is 1:07 in the afternoon. Hope you all had a nice weekend. Hope you rested on Saturday. I certainly did. We're going to start off with Psalms 20 today. It is a psalm of King David. It's only 9 verses. Sweating already. And then we're going to read from Job chapter 5 today. All right. Let's begin. Verse 1. May the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings, Selah. May he give you the desires of your heart and make all your plans succeed. We will shout for joy when you are victorious and will lift up our banner in the name of our God. May the Lord grant all your requests. Amen. May I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He answers him from his holy heaven, from the saving power of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They are brought to their knees and fall, but we rise up and stand firm. Amen. O Lord, save the King. Answer us when we call. Amen. Okay, now we're going to go to our reading. As you can remember from this particular story, Job had the habit of getting up every morning, and he would burn offerings for the sake of his children, because his children would party all the time, and he was afraid that in the midst of their partying that they may do or say something that would offend God. So he would burn offerings for the sake of his children's sins every day. Okay, then the day came when his whole world turned upside down. A messenger came and gave him a message, and before that message was clear, actually he was tested twice. The first time he was tested, the devil was going backwards and forward through the land, and he came to God, and God asked him, what about my servant Job? So let me read it a little bit for you so you can understand what is going on. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 7,000 camels, 500 yokes of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. His sons used to take turns holding feasts in their homes, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of fasting had run its course, Job would send and have them purified. Early in the morning he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom. He did this faithfully. Okay, here comes the first test. One day the angel came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it. Now, back during that time, it was in the biblical time, and of course, Satan had a hard time finding a victim. It's not like today. The whole world is full of his children doing all kinds of monstrosities, so he doesn't have a difficult time anymore. Okay, but he does look for those that belong to God. Okay, because the world is full with those that belong to himself. But he always wants those that belong to God. He don't want that which belongs to him. They are already defiled. Okay. So he says, where have you been? Satan answers the Lord, from roaming through the earth and going back and forth. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no man, no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. Does Job fear God for nothing? This is Satan's response to God. Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied. Have you not put a hinge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the works of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. Okay, a faithful servant of God, no matter what comes down the pike towards us, will never turn our back on God. If anything, we will lean upon him for strength to endure that which he has bestowed upon us. And this is one of the servants of God who behaves in that same manner. In every generation, there will always be servants of God that are just like Job. Okay, even in this wicked generation. The Lord said to Satan, very well, then, everything he has in your hands, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. One day when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans came, attacked, and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword. They killed the servants, and I am the only one who had escaped to tell you. While he yet was finishing those words, here came another. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, the fire of God fell from the sky and burnt up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who had escaped to tell you. Here comes another. While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, here comes again. Yet another messenger came and said, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead. And I am the only one who had escaped to tell you. Now, when the messengers were telling Job about his beasts, he remained standing, listening. Second one, remain standing, listening. Third one, remain standing, listening. You can tell when you have touched a nerve, when you have touched something that is precious unto the individual. The animals weren't precious, the servants, but here it comes. When suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and collapsed on them, and they are dead, and I am the only one who escaped to tell you. At this, Job got up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground and worshiped. What did he do? He fell to the ground and worshiped. Did he curse God? Absolutely not. When you fall to the ground, you are now on your knees worshiping God. Okay? He fell to the ground in worship and said, naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Amen. May the name of the Lord be praised. Amen. That is the response of a die-hard servant. Did you hear the word die-hard servant? A die-hard saint will also respond in the same way, regardless of what comes down the pipe. Job's second test. On another day, the angel came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before him. And the Lord said to Satan, have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming through. Where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it. And Satan had nothing to say about Job, though. Although he done touched them once, took his children. Job did not curse God, so therefore he had nothing to say about Job. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil, and he shall maintain his integrity. Though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason. Skin for skin, Satan replied. A man will give all he has for his own life, but stretch out your hands and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face. Satan never knows what he's talking about, because why? He is the father of lies. He's the father of deception. He is the father of this wicked generation that has twisted our world and turned it upside down. These are his children. The Lord said to Satan, very well, then, he is in your hands, but you must spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and afflicted Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scratched himself with it as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die, she said. Fortunately, he was a blameless and righteous man, and she still had a husband after that comment. She still had a husband. He replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? Shall we? Shall we just consider that which is good that comes our way? Shall we not accept trouble from God? Shall he not test us and see how we respond? Shall we? For bad things happen to both the good and the evil, in the same way that rain falls and wets the good and the evil in the land. In the same way that in every generation there will be those that are good and those that are evil, those that are poor. He replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Job's three friends. When Job's three friends, Eliphaz, the Temanite, Bildad, the Shuhite, and Zophar, the Naamanite, heard about the troubles that had come upon him, They set out from their homes and met together by agreement to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they could hardly recognize him because he was covered with boils from his head to his toe. They began to weep aloud, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads. Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. Do you have any friends that will come by thee and sit with thee quietly? You should be lucky if you do. In these days, there are very few friends that will come by when you have sorrow. Very few. These were the good old days on earth, when friends could be found everywhere. When a man at least had 3 or 4 of them. Okay, now we're going to skip from that. We're going to go to 5. Which is the reading for today. And in 5, one of his friends is responding to him after the 7 days. And this is what he had to say. This is Eliphaz urges Job to accept his just punishment and confess his sins. So he's already convinced that Job is being punished for something. Just because bad things happen to you does not mean the Lord is punishing you. Sometimes he does these things just to get your attention. Sometimes he does these things to test thee, to see how you will respond. It is all a test. Try to remember this. Do not let anybody come and talk foolishness unto thee. For you know your salvation with God. And God does nothing for no reason at all. He always has a purpose in mind. This is his response. Call if you will, but who will answer you? To which of the holy ones will you turn? Resentment kills a fool, and envy slays the simple. I myself have seen a fool taken root, but suddenly his house was cursed. His children are far from safety, crushed in the court without defenders. The hungry consume his harvest, taking it even from among thorns, and the thirsty pant after his wealth. For hardship does not spring from the soil, nor does trouble sprout from the ground. And this is true. It all comes from the Lord. All of it. Even climate change. Yet man is born to trouble, as surely as sparks fly upward. But if it were I would appease to God. I would appeal to God. I will lay my cause before him. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, miracles that cannot be counted. He bestows rain on the earth. He sends water upon the countryside. The lowly he sets on high, and those who moan are lifted to safety. He thwarts the plan of the crafty, so that their hands achieve no success. He catches the wise in their craftiness, and the scheme of the wily are swept away. Darkness comes upon them in the daytime. At noon they grope as in the night. He saves the needy from the sword in their mouth. He saves them from the clutches of the powerful. So the poor have hope, and injustice shuts his mouth. Blessed is the man who God corrects. Amen. So do not despise the discipline of the Almighty. Amen. Do not despise it. Pay attention to it. Heed to it. Do not despise it. Just like you cannot despise your parents. for whipping you. Take heed to their words. For he wounds, but he also binds together. He injures, but his hands also heal. Amen. For he wounds, but he also binds up. He injures, but his hands also heal. From 6 calamities he will rescue you. In 7 no harm will befall you. In famine he will ransom you from death, and in battle from the stroke of the sword. You will be protected from the lashes of the tongue, and need not fear when destruction comes. You will laugh at destruction and famine, and need not fear the beasts of the earth. For you will have a covenant with the stones of the field, and the wild animals will be at peace with you. You will know that your tent is secure. You will take stock of your property and find nothing missing. You will know that your children will be many, and your descendants like the grass of the earth. You will come to the grave in full vigor, like sheaves gathered in season. We have examined this, and it is true. So hear it and apply it to yourself. This was his first friend's suggestion. Okay. We're going to continue with Job for a couple days, because there are many, many, many lessons that we need to learn from Job. And these lessons can be applied in all generations, brothers and sisters. This book here is called The Basic Life Before Leaving Earth. Okay. We are to live by these rules. We are to heed to all of these laws, sanctions, precepts, doctrines that was given to us long before the Constitution of America. Long before this present democracy came into play. These laws were given to us. If we will heed to these laws, the troubles that we experience on our earth would fade away. Did you hear me? They will fade away. But if we continue to ignore these laws and pretend as if they have no vitality, we will continue. We will continue at the pace that we're going, and shamefully blame it on climate change, instead of looking at our actions and contributing that which we are suffering from as a result of our conduct here on earth. In the same way that God dealt with our ancestors in the biblical time, God does not change like man. He is the same yesterday, tomorrow, and forevermore. And when he has given us a set of rules that we should live by, we will live by these rules whether we want to or not. And the chaos that is happening in our world, those that are responsible for this twisted social change will without doubt suffer the consequences for it. Did you hear me? Without doubt, they will suffer the consequences for it. And the good of the land will behold it. We will behold it. That means we will witness it. So please, get your life in order. Because that which is coming our way will be nearly unbearable. Period. Thank you for listening to us here at Spiritual Water. My name is Brenda Guerrero, and as always, may the peace of God be upon you. May the protection of God surround you, and may the will of God for this land, for his people, be manifested. And as always, I love you, but God will always love you the most. Have a beautiful day. And if I live and nothing happens, we will continue this tomorrow.